The Ford Bronco is the biggest vehicle debut we'll see all year. And speaking of years, try 25 of them. That's how long it's been since Ford discontinued the last Bronco. Everywhere I've been with this truck, people have been coming up to me, they're excited about it. It's a Jeep that's not a Jeep. You've seen all the preview videos last year, read all the articles. Now CarGurus is one of the very first outlets to test this truck right outside our home turf at Cambridge. And I've had such a busy week with this Bronco, and now for the 10 minutes, you're gonna join me on a nice little adventure, so let's get down to business. The Bronco is industrial design at its finest. Trucks, they're not my favorite, and you might think it's hideous. It's a box, and our teachers told us to think outside the box. But this is a specialty vehicle. Every inch, every crease, and every bolt has a purpose. And within that purpose is beauty. I love this truck. This is the most boss version you can get. It's the Badlands Sasquatch on the 35-inch tires. Steel bumpers, I love that sound. With this bar here that you can take off, you can add objects, you can like winches, all sorts of stuff that I would never use any day, but you can do that with this bumper. It's modular, it comes apart. You also have LED lights, of course they're LEDs these days, and they're round of course, but they got this really nice signature element cutting into them and that old school Bronco look. It really looks just like the 1960s come to life. Ford does retro really, really well. They've done it before with the Mustang. It looks perfect here. Now, the closer you look, there's more details, like how you can't even see all the radar and the ultrasonic sensors that are right here. This is a modern vehicle, even though it looks really old. That's how they pulled this off. Up here are trail sights. That helps you really see the edges of the vehicle when you're on really tight corners. You can also use this as tie downs attached to the roof. And when you're up by the roof, it says accessory ready. All these little points let you take them off and add things to them. Ford makes it really easy to find them. Moving here to the mirrors. Well, they're on the body, not on the doors. That's because you can take these doors off and you'll still have mirrors. You can't do that with a Jeep. They've also got lights and cameras underneath here. These half doors are standard on the Bronco, and it has power ceiling windows just like you'll find in a Mustang coupe. Now, you keep going along here, what else do we have? Removable roof, soft top, hard top, manual, 2-door, 4-door. You can configure this thing in so many different ways, so really, you tell us, how do you want it? With a Bronco, the inside is the outside. That's why these seats have what Ford calls is marine grade vinyl. And all that means it's got an anti-mildew treatment, it resists water, stains, everything. The floor is all rubber, it's all sealed, so that means you can just kind of walk around, spill a drink, who cares? There are drain plugs by each seat. How about the roof? There are 3 sections you can remove without tools, without anyone helping. The open sky feeling is incredible because the crossbar is behind the rear seats. And what's great about these frame rails? They have curtain airbags, which the Jeep Wrangler has never offered. Details are everywhere. Bronco logos on the cargo lights, an American flag on the shifter, gorgeous displays and animations, bright contrasting colors on these air vents, waterproof switches on the dash. There are MOLLE attachments on the back seat for clipping loose gear. Everything looks and feels functional and built to last. It's comfortable and roomy, but this isn't a luxury truck. The Bronco is meant to drive over and through basically anything, especially if you get the Sasquatch package. That brings the clearance up from about 8.3 to 11.5. And that's a big jump, mostly to these 35-inch, 315 millimeter wide mud terrain tires. They're like big pillows, and they just let you just go through anything without much of a fuss at all. It really is so much fun. The tires aren't just the visual appeal, they really do the job. With the Sasquatch package, you also get special Bilstein shocks. You get a 4.7 to 1 final drive ratio that's a lot shorter than the other Broncos. Wow, you just get special everything. Front and rear diff lockers, disconnecting sway bar, more driving modes on the GOAT modes. Right now I'm in mud and ruts. You have sand and Baja. On some of the other Bronco models, there's a sport version. No, there's no sport mode here. Nothing sporty about that, or that. Everything is automatic in this vehicle. That's how much fun it is to film in this vehicle too. I'm having a great time. Plus there's things like trail turn assist. It'll brake the inner wheel around turns on the trail to tighten the trajectory. That's what sports car drivers use on the road, but on the trail with a vehicle this large, it definitely helps. And there's a feature called one pedal driving, which will actually kind of work like an EV. You let your foot off the gas, it starts to apply the brake before you even touch the brake pedal. Pretty useful features that no one's really done before, and Ford's really thought that through. And what's so nice with the twist of a dial, I'll go into my goat mode. Mud ruts, that sounds about right. There's a lot of rocks here. Shifts the diff lock on and the four-wheel high for me. Because why would I want to do that myself, right? I just want to keep driving and having fun. And these cameras are also phenomenal. When you're in the off-road modes, the front camera will stay on, and you'll also get some additional side views so you can see the tires. I was using that on another trail and I got this close to them. But thanks to the cameras, I didn't need another spotter because it was so clear. And on this 12-inch screen, you're gonna want that one because you can see every last detail. All right, I'm gonna switch the old goat mode to normal, automatically engaging the two-wheel drive high. Took off the rear diff locker and I'm on the road. And really, it's surprisingly good. Really did not expect this vehicle around town or just at higher speeds to be stable. The only thing I don't like is the brakes. And it's not because it dives a little bit, it's just because they don't really feel that strong. You don't have a ton of grip on these tires, so you will hear them hum and you will hear them start to moan a little bit when you're going around some turns, so you do have to back off. That should be obvious in a vehicle like this. But I really would like some better braking performance, especially because with the V6 model, you're pushing 330 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. You need to stop this thing, and it's roughly 4,500 to 5,000 pounds, depending on how you equip your Bronco. That is a lot of vehicle. So I would like some more braking, but otherwise, the absolute perfection of this ride. I could be in a Lincoln right now. If a Lincoln didn't have a roof and it had giant mud tires on it, which they might do for all I know. I don't know, but for now, this is a pretty good choice. It's the independent front suspension that also helps. Cars like the Jeep, they got a live axle, and that really makes it into that old heavy-duty truck feel. It rides a lot rougher, the steering is loose. The Bronco, no, all day it's straight. And I actually have feeling in the steering, and there's actually some on-center feel. You don't get that. You don't get that in a lot of heavy-duty pickup trucks. And so for a specialty off-road vehicle, I'm impressed with this one. The question you need to know right now, do you need the Bronco's V6? I don't think you do. This is a 2.3 liter Ford that's spitting out 300 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. 10 gears, great gear ratios, perfectly spaced. There's never a lack of thrust. There's no interruption, no matter which drive mode I'm in. It's great. And I did not expect that from a vehicle weighing over 4,500 pounds. Didn't at all. But it's fine. I mean, what do you want? Do you need this to go much faster? You could. 330 horsepower with that 2.7 liter twin turbo V6. Not that much extra power, but a lot more torque, 415 pound-feet. And the benefit is that, well, you don't really lose fuel economy too much. It's 17 city, 17 highway with the V6 in the Sasquatch configuration, or 18 and 18 with the 4-cylinder. So efficiency isn't really the name of the game with the 4-cylinder unless you get the non-Sasquatch 2-door, and that one you're pushing over 20, depending on the trims. But fuel economy is not really the whole point of this vehicle, not at all. I mean, I think eventually they'll have a hybrid, maybe a plug-in hybrid. I'm sure they'll have an EV Bronco. But for now, what we're dealing with is really, really good. And I think the 4 is where it's at. You'll save a lot of money, and you're just not gonna feel shortchanged. I certainly don't. I don't at all. Yeah, I love that turbo hiss too. If you're not an automatic person, you can get a manual, a 7-speed manual developed for the Bronco, and it's really a 6-speed with a special crawler gear for that first gear. That's an ultra low range that lets this thing really go very, very slowly, very, very precisely over bad terrain. So if you want that maximum torque, you gotta get the manual. It's only available with the 4-cylinder engine. At least right now, that's the only thing they developed it for. But like I said before, the 4-cylinder is a really good engine, and it's not gonna quit with you on the trail or on the road. So don't think that because you see this big hood that you gotta fill it up with some massive engine. There's not even a V8 under here. I think there's room for that. But in a vehicle like this, I don't want to go fast. I want the control, I want the torque, I want the smoothness. This does it all. All the off-road tech makes the Bronco very modern and easy to run. But the everyday tech is also helpful, especially with the optional 12-inch screen. I'd order this one, not the 8-inch. It's so much clearer to see and use with a split screen you could swipe through for multiple functions. The cameras are incredible. In off-road modes, they'll show you tire treads so you can predict where you're headed and avoid the sides you shouldn't. Settings are simple to adjust. There's advanced safety, like evasive steering assist, wireless phone connections and wireless charging, and the instrument panel offers lots of customization, even though it's small. You can pull up any bit of info, and it's just as easy to read as the big display. The Bronco starts under 30 grand, but it's barely on sale. Reservations are already booking into the 2022 model year, and some dealers are charging big markups for the few vehicles they have in stock. My advice, wait it out. This is a great truck, but don't overpay. Our Bronco stickered at $57,000 with destination, and this is at the top end. There are 7 trims, and you can get a well-equipped Bronco in the mid-40s that will still be fantastic off-road without the Sasquatch package. But without it, well, it sure won't look as cool. The Bronco is better than I expected. I thought it would behave really poorly on the road like a Jeep Rubicon, but it doesn't. The 4-cylinder is really powerful and it's geared perfectly. You don't really need the V6. I didn't think I'd be saying those things. However, one thing you gotta take into mind, if you take it on a trail, you probably should take some measurements. This Sasquatch is 5.5 inches wider than a Jeep. So there's gonna be some places where you just might not fit with one of these Broncos. Other than that, I don't really hate it. Except maybe Jeep people might. So what do you guys think? Jeep people, Bronco people, 4Runner people? You tell us. And stick around and subscribe because I'm gonna compare this same Bronco to a new Jeep Rubicon. That's coming up next. See you next time.